The galaxy held its breath. The Dominion had recovered from its earlier defeat, but their pride was wounded. For centuries, no species had resisted them. Yet humanity had not only resisted, they had built 10 fleets, ready to meet the Empire head-on. Admiral Jonathan Hayes stood on the bridge of the flagship Defiance, overlooking the 10 fleets arrayed like a wall of steel and fire across the void. Each ship was a marvel of human ingenuity, combining speed, firepower, and adaptability. The fleets were not just ships. They were symbols of unity, courage, and the unyielding will of Earth. "We are ready," Hayes said quietly. "They came to terrify us. One fleet was not enough. Now they faced 10. Around him, officers nodded. Pilots adjusted their helmets, engineers checked systems, and communications officers relayed the positions of Allied forces. Every member of the fleet understood the stakes. Every human knew that the galaxy was watching. High Captain Sarok of the Dominion could see the 10 fleets on his scanners. He had fought humanity before, and he knew their strengths. Still, the sight was unnerving. A single fleet had already humiliated the Dominion. 10 fleets together were more than a challenge, they were a statement. "They have 10 fleets," Sarok said to his officers. His voice was calm but heavy. "They are ready for us. We must reconsider our approach." The Supreme Chancellor, however, refused to hesitate. "We are the Dominion," the Chancellor declared. "We cannot show weakness. Destroy them. All of them." Sarok bowed but knew this was no longer a simple fight. The humans had grown, learned, and prepared. They were different now. The first shots were fired near the outer asteroid belts. The Dominion's Grand Armada surged forward, expecting a swift victory. They did not anticipate the human strategy. Admiral Hayes had prepared meticulously. 10 fleets spread in a formation no one had ever seen. Some engaged directly, drawing fire. Others flanked from unexpected angles. Small squadrons struck at supply lines, while hidden forces prepared ambushes near gas giants and asteroid fields. "Remember what we learned," Hayes told his fleet via secure channel. "We are stronger together. We fight as one. We do not falter." The Dominion attacked with everything they had, but humanity was not afraid. Each fleet moved in perfect coordination. Every pilot, every engineer, every soldier acted as part of a greater whole. The battle escalated. Plasma beams cut through space like lightning. Missiles and railgun slugs streaked between ships. Fighters darted in swarms, confusing enemy sensors. The Dominion's armada was powerful, but it was rigid. Humanity was flexible. Every time the enemy struck, the humans adapted. Every strategy they tried was countered with creativity and precision. On the Bridge of Resolve, Captain Lin Chen barked orders. 8th Fleet, flank left. 5th Fleet, cover the rear. Do not let them break our line. Explosions lit the void as Dominion cruisers were hit from multiple directions at once. Communications were jammed, shields disrupted. The humans had learned the Empire's weaknesses and used them to full advantage. Meanwhile, Earth's allies joined the fight. Small fleets from Arakai, Falira, and other species, long oppressed by the Dominion, struck at key supply points. They were not enough to win the war alone, but combined with humanity's fleets, they amplified the impact. "Look at them," said Commander Elias, observing the battlefield. "They fight with fear in their hearts, but also hope. They have never seen unity like this." Hayes nodded. "The humans do not fight out of fear. We fight for each other, and that is something the Dominion cannot understand." Even High Captain Sarok began to doubt the outcome. The Dominion had strength, numbers, and experience. Humanity had courage, intelligence, and unity. The difference was clear. The turning point came near Saturn. The Dominion attempted a massive frontal assault, sending hundreds of cruisers to crush the 10th Fleet. Hayes had predicted this. "Prepare for the ambush," he ordered. Hidden behind Saturn's rings, smaller human fleets had positioned themselves for a perfect strike. When the Dominion ships advanced, they were met with concentrated fire from all sides. The Dominion's formation broke apart under the precision of human tactics. Shields collapsed, engines failed, and ships drifted helplessly into the void. A massive carrier exploded in a brilliant blaze of light, sending fragments across space. Sarok's officers panicked. "They are too coordinated." "Pull back!" Sarok for once hesitated. Retreat had never been an option in his career. But he saw the reality. The humans were not merely defending, they were dominating the battlefield. Across the solar system, the battle raged for hours. Humans fought tirelessly, knowing that victory required patience, courage, and strategy. When Dominion squadrons struck one fleet, another fleet reinforced the line. When ships were damaged, engineers repaired them mid-battle. Humanity's fleets were alive with activity, constantly moving, adjusting, and striking back. The Dominion, for all their might, could not match the adaptability of 10 human fleets acting as one. One by one, their ships fell. One by one, their armada began to crumble. In a bold move, Hayes ordered the fleets to advance toward the remnants of the Dominion Grand Armada. "Do not stop," he said. "We have the advantage. Push them back. Show them what humanity is capable of." The fleet surged forward in perfect synchronization. The Dominion commanders realized too late that their pride had blinded them. Their mighty ships, symbols of centuries of conquest, were now vulnerable. The humans were relentless, striking with speed, precision, and unyielding will. Every explosion, every destroyed cruiser, and every captured supply ship sent a message across the galaxy. Humanity would not be conquered. High Captain Sarge finally ordered the retreat. The Grand Armada, once thought invincible, limped away from the battlefield, leaving behind a trail of wreckage. The Dominion's pride had been shattered, their numbers decimated. Across the galaxy, oppressed species watched in awe. For centuries, the Dominion had ruled without challenge. Now they had seen a new power rise, a power that refused to kneel. On Earth, people celebrated cautiously. Victory had been hard-earned, but it was undeniable. Humanity had stood against the greatest empire in the galaxy, and survived. Admiral Hayes addressed his crews via broadcast to all 10 fleets. "Today we have faced the storm and held our ground. We have proven that numbers alone do not determine victory. Courage, unity, and intelligence are our greatest weapons. The Dominion may return. They may try again. But now they know one thing. Humans do not surrender. Humans do not break. Humans endure." Across the fleets, pilots, engineers, and officers cheered. Their sacrifices had not been in vain. Humanity's story had taken a bold turn, one that would be remembered across generations. In the aftermath, human scientists and engineers began studying Dominion wreckage. Each ship revealed new technology, new methods, and new knowledge. Humanity was learning faster than the Dominion could recover. New fleets would be built, stronger and smarter than before. Admiral Hayes walked along the deck of Defiance, observing the fleets. Ships repaired, crews trained, and allies integrated into human strategy. He looked out at the stars and knew the galaxy had changed. Humanity was no longer a small, isolated species. They were a rising force, a symbol of hope and a beacon for freedom. High Captain Sarge returned to the Dominion capital, reporting the outcome. The Council was furious. One fleet had been broken. 10 fleets had humiliated them. They realized, finally, that humans were unlike any species they had ever faced. Sarge remained quiet in the council chamber. He had seen what humans were capable of. They were dangerous not because of their weapons, but because of their spirit. The council ignored him, but Sarge knew. The galaxy had shifted. Humanity would not be defeated, not now, not ever. On Earth, celebrations continued, but Admiral Hayes reminded the people of their responsibility. "We have won this battle," he said, "but the war for freedom is never over. 10 fleets may have been enough to terrify them, but one day we must be ready to go further. We will explore. We will protect, and we will ensure that no species ever suffers under tyranny again." Children looked up at the night sky, imagining the 10 fleets patrolling the stars. They knew that humanity's story was just beginning. A story of courage, unity, and the refusal to bow to anyone. The galaxy had learned a new truth. Humans were not just survivors. Humans were a force to be reckoned with, and the legend of Earth's 10 fleets would echo among the stars forever. The galaxy had known peace for a long time, or at least that was what the Galactic Council told its members. The Council was an ancient body, formed by powerful alien civilizations that believed they alone had the right to decide the fate of younger races. They spoke of order and balance, but behind their polished words lived fear and arrogance. Among the many races in the stars were the Aelari. They were graceful, peaceful, and full of wisdom. Their crystalline cities floated over oceans of shining blue, and their songs were said to calm even the most troubled minds. To many, the Aelari seemed fragile, but their kindness made them strong allies. Years ago, when humanity first stepped into interstellar travel, it was the Aelari who guided them. They shared star maps, offered trade, and even sheltered human explorers when their ships broke down in deep space. Without the Aelari, Earth might have remained lost and isolated in the dark. But kindness has always been seen as weakness by those who crave power. The Galactic Council had long disliked the Aelari. Their refusal to bow completely to the Council's demands was seen as disobedience, and so behind closed doors the Council made a decision. The Aelari would be erased. They called it cleansing. To them, it was simply another act to preserve order. Across the stars, fleets of Council warships moved without mercy. They descended on Aelari worlds with fire and steel, their cities of crystal shattered under orbital bombardments. Entire archives of wisdom were reduced to ash. The Aelari fought with what ships they had, but they were no warriors. Their fleets, elegant and meant for exploration, were torn apart by the Council's war machines. Distress calls were sent out, but the Council silenced most of them before they could reach other civilizations. Still, some signals escaped. Small fragments of desperate voices moved across the void, carrying sorrow and pleas for help. It was Earth that caught those cries. On the far edge of the Sol system, humanity's listening stations monitored the endless chatter of space. One night, as the stars burned cold and silent, a weak signal broke through the static. Technicians leaned closer, boosting the feed. The sound was fractured, filled with bursts of interference, but the words were still clear enough to send a chill through the room. "This is the Aelari, under attack. Cities burning. Please, help us." The voices broke into static, then silence. Reports rushed back to Earth. Within hours, leaders of every nation were awakened. The United Nations Stellar Command, created to manage Earth's growing presence in space, called for an emergency meeting. Generals, diplomats, and scientists gathered under the Great Dome of the Global Assembly in New Geneva. The images they saw filled the chamber with silence. The transmissions that escaped showed burning skies, collapsing towers, and the cries of a people who had done nothing but live in peace. Humanity owed the Aelari everything. Without them, Earth might have remained trapped in its own system. Now their friends were being destroyed before their eyes. A question hung heavy over the chamber. Should humanity act? Some argued that Earth was still young compared to the ancient powers. If humanity interfered, the Council might turn its fury on Earth itself. Others argued that silence would mean betrayal, that humanity would be no better than the Council if it abandoned those who had once shown kindness. General Marcus Hale, commander of Earth's defense fleet, rose to speak. His voice was steady, but his eyes carried fire. "We stand at a crossroad," he said. "If we stay silent, the galaxy will see us as cowards. If we speak, we may draw the wrath of the Council. But I ask you all, what is humanity worth if we cannot stand for our friends? The Aelari gave us light when we were stumbling in the dark. Will we now leave them to burn alone?" His words echoed in the chamber. President Amina de Souza, leader of the Assembly, finally gave the decision. "We will not remain silent. Humanity will rise. We will answer their call." While politicians debated, humanity's soldiers and engineers had already prepared for this day. For decades, Earth had been underestimated. The Council saw humans as children, bold, curious, but too primitive to matter. They did not know the truth. In the asteroid belts beyond Mars and the hidden shipyards orbiting Jupiter, humanity had been building. They had learned from the mistakes of history, from centuries of war on their own world. Their ships were not elegant like the Aelari vessels, nor heavy and ceremonial like the Council's. Human warships were built with one goal: to fight and survive. Steel hulls reinforced by advanced alloys, engines designed for sudden bursts of speed, and weapons powerful enough to crack planet-side fortresses. Humanity had learned to fight not just with strength but with cunning. The day the Assembly declared war, the Stellar Command activated its fleets. Across the system, hangars opened and giants of steel emerged. From the oceans of Earth, from the deserts of Mars, from the cold dark of space itself, ships rose like a tide. Soldiers in gray and blue uniforms boarded their vessels, carrying both fear and pride in their hearts. Among them was Commander Elias Ward, captain of the warship Resolute. Standing on the bridge, he gazed at the stars ahead. "The Council thinks we are weak," he said quietly to his crew. "Let them think so. They will learn soon enough." The Council, of course, did not take Earth's declaration seriously. To them, humanity was a minor race barely out of its cradle. When reports came of human fleets moving toward Aelari space, the Council laughed. They dispatched a small patrol group, believing it more than enough to crush Earth's forces, but they did not understand humanity's spirit. When the Resolute and its sister ships met the Council patrol at the edge of Alari space, the humans fought with a fury the galaxy had never seen. The Council ships, proud and slow, were torn apart by rapid strikes. Human warships darted in and out of enemy lines, using tactics the Council had never even considered. Missiles screamed through the void, railguns thundered, and the stars lit with fire. When the battle was done, the patrol group was destroyed. The first victory was small, but it carried weight heavier than entire worlds. Humanity had drawn blood from the ancient rulers of the galaxy. Word spread quickly. Across the stars, whispers rose. A young race, once ignored, had stood against the mighty council and survived. Some laughed in disbelief. Others watched with quiet hope. And in the ruins of their burning worlds, the surviving Alari heard the news. For the first time since the cleansing began, they allowed themselves to believe. Earth had answered. Humanity was coming. The victory at the edge of Alari space was small, but it carried the weight of thunder. For the first time in centuries, the Galactic Council had suffered defeat at the hands of a younger race. The patrol ships that once boasted of their authority were now drifting wrecks, their debris glowing faintly as it fell into the pull of nearby stars. Humanity's fleet had proven that Earth was not weak, but war had only begun. In the command halls of the United Nations Stellar Command, the news of victory reached Earth. Screens glowed with reports, battle footage and transmissions from officers on the front. For a brief moment, pride filled the air. Humanity had done the impossible. Yet the leaders knew pride alone could not win wars. General Marcus Hale stood before a wide projection of the stars. His silver hair caught the lights, and his sharp eyes traced the glowing lines that showed Council fleet movements. This was only their patrol, he reminded the Assembly of Commanders. The Council has armadas that could darken entire skies. If we are to win, we cannot rely on one victory. We must unleash everything we have prepared. The others nodded. They all knew the truth. Earth had been underestimated by the galaxy for too long. That was humanity's greatest weapon. For decades, Earth had lived under the shadow of doubt. The Council called humans reckless and undisciplined, too divided to rise as a true power. But while the Council laughed, Earth had worked. Shipyards hidden in asteroid fields produced vessels of war. Factories beneath the oceans built engines far from the sight of outsiders. Generations of engineers, scientists, and workers poured their skill into creating a fleet unlike any other. They called it the Armada of Retribution. This fleet was not meant for defense alone. Its warships were designed with every lesson humanity had learned from its own long history of struggle. Where the Council relied on size and intimidation, humanity valued speed and surprise. Where the Council moved in slow, predictable formations, humanity trained to fight like wolves, fast, cunning, and merciless. Where the Council expected honor and ritual, humanity believed in survival. Each ship was a testament to that belief. The destroyers were swift, their engines built for rapid maneuvers. The cruisers carried heavy weapons, railguns that could fire slugs faster than the eye could track, and missile batteries that turned space into storms of fire. Carriers held drones and strike craft, tiny but deadly, capable of overwhelming even the most advanced defenses. And at the heart of the fleet were the battleships, massive fortresses of steel and light. Their armor could withstand volleys that would shatter lesser ships. They were humanity's shield and sword. On Mars, in the Great Training Dome, soldiers prepared for the long campaign. They drilled in zero-gravity arenas, learning how to board enemy ships. They practiced simulations where fleets 3 times their size bore down on them, learning how to survive through speed, clever maneuvers, and teamwork. Commander Elias Ward of the Resolute walked among the crews. Watching as young men and women tightened their gear and tested their weapons, he saw no fear in their eyes, only determination. These soldiers, Ward thought, are not just fighting for Earth. They fight for the Alari. They fight for a future where no voice can be silenced. When he returned to his ship, his first officer, Lieutenant Sarah Kwan, saluted. "Sir, orders have come in. We're moving deeper into Alari space. The Council has deployed a larger fleet." Ward nodded. He knew this was coming. The Council would not ignore them now. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the Council gathered in their great chamber of judgment. The alien leaders, tall and proud in their ceremonial robes, argued among themselves. How could humans destroy our patrols? One demanded. They were not supposed to be this advanced. They are insects who have bitten too hard, another said coldly. We must crush them before others follow their example. But even in their arrogance, a trace of worry filled the chamber. Reports had spread quickly. The council had been shamed. Still, they believed numbers would decide the war. A fleet 3 times the size of Earth's forces was dispatched toward Ilari space. They expected it to be enough. The first great clash came at the ruins of Seralis, a system once belonging to the Ilari. Their cities now lay in ashes on the broken planet below, but the system held strategic value. If the Council secured it, Earth's fleets would be cut off. Commander Ward's Resolute was among the first to arrive. When the Council's larger fleet emerged from hyperspace, their ships filled the darkness like a storm. The difference in size was clear. Earth's ships were outnumbered, outgunned, and seemingly outmatched, but Ward was not afraid. Engage the wolf tactics, he ordered. The humans moved like no Council fleet ever had. Instead of forming a wall of ships, they scattered, each vessel weaving in and out of the enemy's path. Destroyers darted forward, launching missiles, then vanished into asteroid fields. Carriers released waves of drones that swarmed Council ships, striking from blind spots. Battleships held the line, drawing fire while cruisers attacked from behind. The Council was unprepared. They had expected humans to meet them in a straight clash, not this storm of motion and surprise. Their larger ships struggled to track the rapid movements. On the bridge of a Council dreadnought, an alien commander hissed in frustration. They fight like shadows. No order, no discipline, just chaos. But it was that very chaos that tore through their lines. One by one, Council vessels were disabled or destroyed. Human missiles slammed into weak points. Railguns tore open hulls. Even when humans lost ships, the crews fought on, ensuring their sacrifice bought victory for the fleet. When the battle ended, the Council had lost nearly half their force. The rest fled, broken and humiliated. The victory at Seralis sent shockwaves across the galaxy. For the first time, the Council had been defeated not by numbers but by cleverness and courage. Races that once bowed in silence began to whisper. Perhaps the humans were the answer. In refugee camps hidden on distant moons, surviving Ilari heard the news. Their sorrowful eyes lifted with new hope. Humanity had not only answered their call, it was winning. On Earth, people filled the streets in unity. For once, the divisions of nations faded. Humans stood together as one species, proud of their defenders among the stars. But General Hale reminded them all, the war is not over. The Council will return with more, and when they do, we must be ready. In the silence of space, the Resolute drifted among the wreckage of the Council fleet. Commander Ward stood by the viewing glass, watching pieces of enemy vessels tumble into the void. His voice was low, meant only for himself. This is just the beginning, he whispered. They will come with greater fury, but so will we. Humanity has only begun to show its steel. And so, the galaxy turned. The Council, once unquestioned rulers, now faced an enemy they had underestimated. The Ilari, once doomed to vanish, now had champions among the stars. And humanity, once ignored, now walked the path of destiny, armed not only with ships of steel, but with the unbreakable will to protect their friends. The war had only begun, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The Battle of Seralis became more than just a victory. It became a story that spread like fire across the galaxy. Small ships carried the news through trade routes, smugglers whispered it in shadowed stations, and refugees spoke of it in hushed voices. The tale was simple yet powerful. Earth's fleets had stood against the Council and lived to tell the tale. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy began to believe that the Council was not untouchable. In hidden caves on a ruined moon, the Ilari survivors listened to human transmissions. The news reached them through static-filled radios, carried by human scouts who risked much to bring word. The Ilari, once broken with despair, felt a spark of hope. They remembered the kindness they had shown humanity long ago, when the younger species was still learning the stars. Now, against all odds, their kindness was being repaid with blood and steel. An Ilari elder named Soraya, whose crystal-like skin shimmered even in the dim light, raised her voice among her people. The Council thought us forgotten, she said. They thought our songs would vanish into silence. But humanity remembers. Humanity fights. We must stand with them, for they fight not just for themselves but for us all. Her words carried through the camps, and though the Ayalari had no great fleets left, they had knowledge. They had maps of Council supply lines, data about weak points in their defense networks, and secrets that only those who had once traded with the Council would know. They offered this to Earth's commanders, not as beggars but as allies. In the Stellar Command War Room, General Marcus Hale studied the Ayalari data with sharp eyes. Systems once hidden to humans now lit up on their maps. Supply depots, hidden shipyards, and vulnerable relay stations were revealed. This, Hale said, pointing to the glowing lines, is how we strike them, not with brute force but with precision. We will cut their veins until their strength bleeds away. Commander Elias Ward and other captains received their orders. The fleet would not only defend, they would attack where the Council was weak, and so began the campaign of shadows. Human warships moved swiftly, slipping into systems where the Council felt safe. At the gas mines of Valor, Council freighters were destroyed before they could deliver fuel to the front lines. At the relay stations of Nera Prime, human strikecraft jammed communication signals, leaving entire sectors blind. Small fleets of drones appeared where no Council ships expected them, striking and vanishing like ghosts. To the Council, it was maddening. They had built their empire on fear and order. Now this young species, these humans, shattered that order with every passing day. Council admirals gathered in frustration, watching as their charts filled with red marks of lost ships. They fight like predators, one alien hissed. They do not meet us head on. They strike from the dark, then vanish. Another growled, they have no honor. But a third, older voice spoke softly. No, they fight with something greater. They fight with memory. They remember the ones we destroyed, and they do not forgive. The Council responded with force. They gathered fleets larger than ever before, sending them into Ayalari space. But each time they were met with resistance that seemed far greater than humanity's numbers should allow. At the ruined gates of Lorathan, one of the last strongholds near Ayalari space, the largest battle yet took place. The Council arrived with 3 full armadas, their ships blocking out the stars. The humans had less than half that number. Their fleet stretched thin with battleships at the center, cruisers guarding their flanks and destroyers weaving in restless patterns. The odds were grim and everyone knew it. On the Resolute, Commander Ward stood tall at the bridge. His crew waited, eyes fixed on him. We are outnumbered, Ward admitted, but we are not outmatched. The Council believes size is everything. Today we prove them wrong again. Today we fight not only for Earth, but for every voice the Council tried to silence. Hold fast, strike hard, and remember, every second we stand, hope grows across the stars. His words lit fire in the hearts of his crew. The battle erupted like a storm. Council dreadnoughts moved in heavy formations, their cannons burning through the dark. But humanity struck with speed. Destroyers darted in, unleashing volleys of missiles before vanishing into debris fields. Fighters swarmed like angry wasps, overwhelming enemy defenses. The Resolute itself cut across the flank of a massive cruiser, railguns pounding until its hull cracked apart. Lieutenant Sarah Kwan, standing by Ward's side, reported quickly. Enemy numbers are still overwhelming, sir. We can't hold this line forever. Ward nodded grimly. Then we'll change the line. Order the battleships to retreat 3 clicks. Lure them in. The trap was set. As the Council pressed forward, believing the humans were breaking, they entered a region filled with mines planted days before. Explosions rippled through their front lines, scattering their formation. In that chaos, human cruisers struck from hidden positions, their weapons tearing through weakened ships. The tide began to turn. Hours passed, and the battle raged without mercy. But slowly, against all odds, the Council began to falter. Their numbers meant little when confusion ruled their ranks. Humanity had taught them a lesson. War was not about pride, but about survival, cunning, and the will to protect. When the smoke cleared, 2 Council armadas were gone. The third fled into the dark, leaving wreckage behind. Humanity stood bloodied but victorious. The galaxy trembled. The Council had lost again, this time with overwhelming numbers on their side. Races that once bowed their heads now raised them. Some dared to whisper rebellion. Others secretly reached out to human envoys, offering support. Small resistance groups across Council space began to rise, inspired by the courage of Earth. The Council chamber grew colder. The leaders argued, shouted, and blamed one another. They had dismissed humanity as children, yet now those children had shattered their fleets. Fear entered their voices, though they tried to hide it. Back on Earth, the people celebrated, but with heavy hearts. The cost of victory had been high. Thousands of soldiers would never return. In homes across the world, families lit candles for the lost. Yet even in grief, they stood united. They knew the fight was not just for Earth, but for every world that had suffered under the Council's rule. General Hale addressed the assembly. "We are no longer a young race looking to survive. We are a power that the galaxy must respect, but let us never forget why we fight. Not for conquest. Not for pride, but for vengeance and for justice." On the Resolute after the Battle of Lorathan, Commander Ward sat quietly in his cabin. He opened a small holo message sent by an Alari elder. The image of Soraya appeared, her crystalline form glowing softly. "Humanity has shown the stars that kindness is not weakness," she said. "You remember us when others turned away. You fight for us when others stayed silent. We will not forget. Whatever future comes, we walk with you." Ward closed the message and looked out at the stars. He knew the war was far from over. The Council would return with greater fury, but he also knew that humanity had something stronger than numbers. They had memory. They had loyalty. And they had the will to fight until the galaxy was free. The echoes of vengeance had begun, and they would not be silenced. The galaxy had begun to whisper about humans. Once dismissed as weak and insignificant, Earth's fleets had become a symbol of courage, cunning, and vengeance. Stories of their victories spread from system to system, inspiring hope in those who had suffered under the Galactic Council's rule. The oppressed dared to dream of freedom again, but the Council was not idle. They had gathered what remained of their armadas, repairing, reforging, and training fleets to crush humanity once and for all. Their arrogance had been wounded, and wounded pride was dangerous. Earth's leaders knew that the time for small strikes and ambushes was over. To end the war, humanity would need to bring the fight to the very heart of the enemy. The Council core worlds, the seat of power and command for the galaxy's rulers, would be the target. In orbit above Mars, the Titan-class dreadnoughts prepared for deployment. Towering above all other ships, these massive vessels were the culmination of decades of Earth's hidden engineering. Each was a fortress of steel and energy, bristling with railguns, missile arrays, and particle cannons. Their armor could withstand entire barrages without breaking. More than just war machines, they were symbols. Symbols that humanity would no longer be underestimated. Commander Elias Ward walked along the docking bay of the Resolute, watching as the Titans roared to life. Their engines glowed with the blue-white light of fusion cores, and the vibrations beneath his feet made the hangar hum like a heartbeat. "They are magnificent," Ward said quietly, almost to himself. "More than ships. They are the will of humanity made real." Lieutenant Sarah Kwan stepped beside him. "Sir, the fleet is ready to jump. The Council won't see us coming." Ward nodded. "Let's show them what Earth can do." The journey to the core worlds was long and tense. Human warships moved in formation, concealed as much as possible by asteroid belts and nebula clouds. For the first time, the galaxy saw humans working not only as soldiers but as strategists. Scouts scanned Council systems, reporting patrol movements. Drones mapped every gravity well, asteroid field, and planetary defense array. Every step of the way, humans prepared for the strike that would decide the war. And when the fleet emerged from the shadows, the Council did not expect it. The first battle at the Council core world of Voron was chaos. Orbiting the planet, massive Council dreadnoughts waited, confident in their superiority. Their weapons blazed, ready to strike the incoming human ships. Yet the Titans held back, allowing smaller human vessels to dart forward, striking at supply depots and orbiting defense satellites. The Council laughed, thinking the Titans were too slow to matter. But when the first dreadnought moved forward, the galaxy saw true human engineering. The Titan Valhalla released a volley of concentrated railgun fire, piercing the shields of a Council dreadnought. The explosion rocked the enemy fleet, sending smaller ships tumbling into the void. Missiles from other Titans and human cruisers followed, striking like a storm. Council officers shouted in panic. "They have weapons that should not exist," an admiral hissed. "How can they strike so accurately?" The humans, in contrast, fought with calm precision. Commander Ward coordinated the attack from the Resolute, sending cruisers to flank the enemy while the Titans tore through their heavy ships. Destroyers darted through debris fields, unleashing missiles before vanishing. It was not just a battle, it was a demonstration. The Council had thought of humans as a nuisance. Now they faced an unstoppable force. On the core world's surface, the Council's cities were vast, shining, and proud. But even from orbit, human weapons began to make their mark. Bombardments targeted military installations, research centers, and supply yards. Drones struck silently, sabotaging communication relays and power grids. The Council realized their empire was crumbling. Systems once loyal now whispered rebellion, inspired by humanity's courage. Some races sent covert envoys to Earth, offering ships and knowledge. The tide of war was shifting. Amid the battle, Ward received an urgent transmission from Ilari survivors. "Commander," Soraya's voice said, trembling but strong, "we have located a Council relay station. If it falls, much of the core world's defenses will be blind. It is heavily guarded, but your fleet can reach it." Ward studied the holographic map. The relay was surrounded by dozens of heavy ships, and planetary defenses rained fire on any approaching vessel. Yet he smiled. "Then we take it," he said. "Prepare the strike team." A fleet of destroyers and cruisers launched at full speed, weaving through enemy fire. Titans followed, their shields absorbing blasts that would have shattered lesser ships. Every maneuver was precise, every attack coordinated. The relay station became the center of the storm. Explosions lit the void as human forces fought through the Council's defenses. Railguns tore apart gun platforms, missiles destroyed shield generators, and finally the relay fell. Communications across the core world faltered, leaving Council forces disoriented. It was a turning point. The final phase of the battle was the entry of the Titans into the heart of the core world fleet. Massive and unstoppable, they moved like gods of war. Council dreadnoughts fired everything they had, but human shields and countermeasures absorbed the attacks. The Titans' cannons tore through hulls, and the battlefield was littered with debris from ships that had once seemed invincible. Every loss, however, was felt deeply by the humans. Ward watched as a destroyer was destroyed by a sudden burst of energy. The crew was lost, but their sacrifice allowed the Titans to push forward. Humanity learned quickly from every strike, adapting their tactics in real time. By the end of the battle, the Council fleet was shattered. The core world's orbit was littered with wreckage, and fires could be seen on the planet's surface. Humanity had struck at the very heart of the Empire and survived. In the Council's capital, leaders argued bitterly. Some called for surrender. Others demanded retaliation, but fear had taken root. They realized they were no longer untouchable. A species they had dismissed, underestimated, and mocked had brought them to their knees. Meanwhile, humanity did not claim victory for themselves. They sent messages across the galaxy. "We fight not for conquest. We fight for justice, for our friends, and for every species the Council has silenced. Join us, and together we will bring freedom to the stars." These words carried hope, inspiring races that had long been oppressed. Systems once loyal to the Council now prepared to rebel. The galaxy was waking. Back on Earth, celebrations were cautious but joyful. Citizens watched as transmissions from the fleet showed the Titans in action, the destruction of Council armadas, and the courage of human crews. Children looked up at the sky, imagining themselves among the stars. General Hale addressed the people, his voice calm but firm. "We have struck at the heart of the Council," he said. "But this war is far from over. We fight not for glory, but to protect. Every system we liberate is a step toward a galaxy where no voice is silenced." Commander Ward, aboard the Resolute, reflected on the battle. Humanity had shown the galaxy its strength, but he knew the Council would return. They would strike back harder, with more fleets, more weapons, and more fury. Yet Ward also knew one truth. Humans did not fight for themselves alone. They fought for allies, for the fallen, and for the promise that no injustice would go unanswered. In the silence of space, as the Titans patrolled the core world orbit, Ward whispered, "This is only the beginning. The Council will burn, and the galaxy will remember who fought for justice." The stars seemed to shine brighter that night, reflecting the fire of humanity's resolve. And for the first time, the galaxy saw not a young species but a force that would not bow, a people whose loyalty and courage could shake empires. The age of humanity was rising,